The summer sun cast a golden glow over Buckingham Palace's iconic facade, bathing the historic building in a warm, radiant light. The air was filled with the buzz of excitement as tourists, locals, and hundreds of royal admirers gathered in the grand courtyard, eagerly anticipating one of Britain's most cherished traditions, the changing of the guard. This ceremonial event, a symbol of the country's deep-rooted heritage, had unfolded countless times without incident. However, on this particular day, as the familiar fanfare and military precision began, something remarkable and deeply human was about to take place. No one in the crowd could have predicted that one soldier's quiet, steadfast tribute would transform a routine military ceremony into an extraordinary moment of courage, compassion, and shared humanity. In the center of the courtyard stood Corporal Thomas Bennett, a war veteran known not only for his fierce loyalty to his country, but also for his remarkable resilience in the face of adversity. Recently returned from an overseas mission, Bennett had suffered a serious leg injury, one that left him physically scarred but emotionally stronger than ever. The injury had been a harsh reminder of the dangers of his service, but it had also reinforced his sense of duty and honor. Despite the severity of his injury, Bennett had insisted on reporting for duty, determined to fulfill his responsibilities and to honor the memory of his comrades who had sacrificed so much. His decision to stand guard that day, despite the pain, spoke volumes about his character. He was a man of deep conviction, willing to endure his own suffering for a cause much greater than himself. As the changing of the guard ceremony unfolded in the usual manner, the crowd's attention was initially focused on the precision of the marching soldiers and the rhythmic sound of their footsteps. Yet, as the ceremony continued, whispers began to ripple through the onlookers. The focus slowly shifted toward Corporal Bennett. Standing at attention in the center of the courtyard, his posture remained unwavering, his arm raised in salute, and his gaze locked firmly ahead, showing no sign of faltering. It was impossible not to notice the faint tremor in his stance, the subtle physical toll of maintaining such a strict posture for an extended period. His face, shadowed by the brim of his hat, was etched with deep concentration, and a light sheen of sweat glistened on his forehead, a clear indication of the internal battle he was fighting against the pain in his leg. Bennett's effort was not unnoticed. The crowd, initially unaware of the struggle he was enduring, began to sense the unspoken challenge he was facing. The murmurs of admiration grew louder as more people recognized the physical strain he was under. It was not just the usual display of discipline that captivated them, but the raw, palpable effort he was putting into maintaining his composure. His salute was not simply a gesture of respect but a silent defiance against the pain, a testament to his unwavering spirit. The admiration for him grew as the realization sank in. This was no ordinary guard standing on duty. This was a man who, despite his suffering, was willing to sacrifice his comfort for something far more important. What started as a moment of ceremonial tradition soon became an emotional and moving display of human strength and determination. The crowd, moved by his silent act of courage, began to whisper in awe. What was usually a spectacle of military precision was now a profound testament to the resilience of the human spirit. As Corporal Bennett continued to stand steadfast, his tribute to duty became an example of true bravery, one that went far beyond the boundaries of military service. It became a reminder to everyone present of the power of perseverance, compassion, and the quiet strength that comes from honoring one's duty, no matter the cost. Many in the crowd, initially curious about the intensity of Corporal Bennett's dedication, soon realized that this was more than just a duty. It was a personal tribute, an act of remembrance, and a display of unyielding resolve. As the minutes turned into half an hour, and then an hour, the unrelenting heat of the summer sun began to take its toll on him. Corporal Bennett's face grew flushed, and his breathing became more labored with each passing moment. Those standing closest to him could see the strain etched across his face, the subtle but visible signs of discomfort as he shifted his weight onto his injured leg. An elderly man in the crowd, a retired soldier himself, nudged his wife and, with deep emotion in his voice, whispered, "That young man standing there, despite his injury, it's a tribute. A real tribute." His wife, her eyes glistening with understanding, nodded in agreement. Together, they watched Corporal Bennett with the utmost respect, their admiration for him growing stronger with each minute that passed. As the temperature climbed higher, the crowd began to seek shade. Many people took refuge under umbrellas or fanned themselves with hats, but Corporal Bennett remained resolute at his post. His uniform clung to him under the blazing sun, yet his salute never wavered. His arms stayed high, unbroken, a symbol of strength and commitment. As the onlookers grew more engrossed in his silent tribute, a young girl holding a small Union Jack flag turned to her mother and asked, "Why is he standing there all alone like that?" Unable to offer a satisfactory explanation, her mother simply replied, "Because it's his duty." For the crowd, the sight of Corporal Bennett's unwavering dedication transformed what had started as a simple changing of the guard ceremony into something far more profound. A sense of reverence filled the courtyard, and the spectators collectively watched with awe and admiration as the guard remained at his post, embodying a powerful sense of devotion. Inside Buckingham Palace, Prince William and Kate Middleton were concluding a meeting with representatives from a veterans organization known for their steadfast commitment to supporting the armed forces. The Duke and Duchess of Cambridge were well accustomed to engagements that recognized the service and sacrifice of military personnel, but little did they know that just outside, an extraordinary display of personal sacrifice and duty was unfolding before their eyes. The Duke and Duchess of Cambridge were deeply involved in charity work supporting veterans and their families, helping those who had returned from service transition back to civilian life. When word of Corporal Bennett's tribute reached them, Prince William's face grew solemn as he recalled his own time serving in the army. His military background had given him a unique understanding of what it meant to serve while injured, both physically and emotionally. He inquired about the man, and another guard briefed him with just the essential information. Corporal Bennett just returned from a tour, wounded in action during a peacekeeping operation. "Let's go to him," William said, glancing at Kate, who nodded in silent agreement. Kate, too, felt a deep compassion for those who served, and the story of a young man injured yet still willing to stand and salute in the scorching sun moved her immensely. Without any announcement or fanfare, they stepped outside, catching the crowd off guard. Whispers and gasps spread through the onlookers as the royal couple made their way toward Corporal Bennett, their faces full of admiration and empathy. Corporal Bennett's eyes widened as he recognized the Duke and Duchess approaching, but even then, he didn't lower his salute or break his stance. Instead, he straightened further, as if trying to show, through his posture, the pride and determination that had kept him standing for so long. Prince William came to a stop beside him, close enough for their eyes to meet. For a brief moment, the two men shared a silent exchange of mutual respect. "Corporal Bennett," William said, his voice filled with warmth and gratitude. Prince William's words carried the warmth of both a fellow serviceman and a prince, as he looked at Corporal Bennett and said, "You honor us all today. Thank you for your dedication." The corporal's only response was a respectful nod, his salute unwavering and his gaze fixed straight ahead. William then stepped forward and gently touched the corporal's shoulder, giving him the deserved appreciation. After William, it was Kate's turn to show her gratitude for such a dedicated man on duty. "Your courage means so much, Corporal," she said in a soft, steady voice. "We're all grateful for your service and strength." Her words seemed to resonate deeply with the corporal. Though exhaustion marked his face, he managed a faint smile as his gaze briefly shifted to Kate in silent gratitude. The scene drew the attention of everyone nearby, and a hush fell over the courtyard as the royal couple stood with the guard, quietly supporting him in his tribute. A palace attendant soon arrived with a bottle of water and a portable fan at Kate's request. Without a word, she took the water and held it near Corporal Bennett's lips, offering him a few sips without him having to break his stance. The corporal drank gratefully, his eyes conveying appreciation, while Kate turned on the fan, creating a gentle breeze to cool him in the intense heat. As the minutes stretched on under the warm summer sun, the royal couple did something that took everyone by surprise. Prince William, without saying a word, raised his own arm in a steady salute, positioning himself shoulder to shoulder with Corporal Bennett. The two men, though worlds apart in status, stood united in purpose, each mirroring the other's stance. It was a silent, powerful gesture that spoke volumes, conveying a deep respect and shared understanding. In that single movement, the prince's action communicated what words could never. The moment captured the essence of solidarity, gratitude, and an acknowledgement of the weight of service and sacrifice. The crowd watched, captivated by the heartfelt simplicity of the scene. Some raised their own hands in salute, while others rested their hands over their hearts, joining the royal couple in their silent honor. In the heart of the palace courtyard, tears filled the eyes of onlookers as the boundaries of rank, title, and status seemed to melt away. In that fleeting moment, there was no distinction between royal and commoner, guard and onlooker. There was only unity and a profound sense of shared reverence. The crowd collectively paid homage to those who had given everything in service to their country, standing together as one, bound by gratitude and respect. Their shared tribute became a memory that would linger in each heart long after the salute ended. A mother held her young son's hand tightly, whispering, "This is what real strength looks like. Remember this moment." A young man from overseas later captured the scene on his phone, marking it as the most touching part of his trip to London. An elderly woman dabbed at her eyes with a handkerchief, watching as the Duke and Duchess stood beside the lone soldier in silent tribute. Time seemed to slow as the three figures, Prince, Duchess, and Corporal, stood in unison, honoring something far greater than themselves. With each passing second, Corporal Bennett's resolve grew stronger, bolstered by the silent support of the two figures beside him. His arm, which had begun to waver, steadied once again, as if he drew energy from their presence. He knew that they weren't just standing there out of formality. They were standing with him out of genuine empathy. As the sun dipped lower, the crowd's admiration grew into a sense of awe. They were witnessing something rare, a moment of pure humanity that transcended titles, status, and ceremony. Corporal Bennett had inspired not only those gathered in the courtyard, but countless others who would later hear his story. He was no longer just a lone guard on duty. He had become a symbol of endurance and duty carried out with silent strength. After 3 hours, Corporal Bennett's strength was nearly gone. His injured leg throbbed, and every muscle ached from the prolonged stance. But he held himself steady, even as he prepared to finally lower his salute. Sensing this, William and Kate also lowered their salutes, their hands falling in unison with the corporal's. The crowd erupted into applause, the sound filling the courtyard as people showed their appreciation for the young guard's dedication and the royal couple's heartfelt gesture. Prince William reached out, shaking Corporal Bennett's hand firmly with a soldier's grip, filled with unspoken respect. "Corporal, you've done us proud today," he said, his tone sincere. Kate, standing beside them, rested her hand on the corporal's shoulder, her gaze filled with warmth and admiration. "You've shown us all what it means to stand for something greater than ourselves," she said. Her words carried a quiet power that touched not only Corporal Bennett, but everyone who overheard. The crowd began to clap once more, some people wiping tears from their eyes, moved by the simplicity and strength of the moment. As the applause faded, William turned to address the crowd, his voice clear and resonant. "Today we've witnessed a remarkable act of dedication. Corporal Bennett's strength and sacrifice remind us of the courage that defines our armed forces. We are all honored by his service and by the service of all who stand with him." Tourists and locals alike looked at Corporal Bennett with newfound respect, their conversations filled with admiration for the young guard and appreciation for the royal couple who had stood beside him. Even as the crowd began to disperse, people lingered, speaking softly about what they had seen, reluctant to let the moment end. The royal couple remained in the courtyard, personally greeting veterans and military families who had attended the ceremony. Kate took a moment to kneel beside an elderly woman in a wheelchair, listening attentively as she shared stories of her late husband's time in the service. William spoke to a group of young veterans, shaking hands and expressing his gratitude for their service. Their warmth and attentiveness left an indelible impression, reinforcing the royal couple's commitment to honoring those who served. For Corporal Bennett, the experience was both humbling and affirming. He had come to stand in tribute to his fallen comrades and found himself joined by a prince and duchess, their shared salute creating a memory he would carry forever. He walked away that day with a heart full of pride, touched by the kindness and solidarity he had witnessed. As the crowd slowly began to leave the courtyard, those who had witnessed the tribute carried a story they would share for years to come. Some spoke of it as the highlight of their visit to London, while others would recount it as a moment of profound connection to something greater than themselves. This was more than a changing of the guard. It was a celebration of the values that unite people across generations: courage, compassion, and a sense of duty. The sun set on Buckingham Palace, casting a warm glow over the courtyard. As people left, they took with them the memory of a day when a lone guard's determination inspired a royal couple, a crowd of onlookers, and even a nation.